While most people are familiar with the civil rights struggle of the South, very few know of that beyond Montgomery. Where the media attention has always been drawn to the South, there is a long history of fights for racial justice even in the North, especially in schools. This is the story of a school desegregation fight in the Tredyffin Easttown School District, one that did not face media coverage or extensive research, but yet served as a frontier in the history of Pennsylvania. The Berwyn School Fight of the early 1930s was one that was not only non-violent but also successful in progressing civil rights in Pennsylvania. On March 10, 1932, the school board's decision of segregating grade 1 to 8 students was published. Historian Roger Thorne explained that the segregation of Berwyn schools was supported by the federal ruling of Plessby v. Ferguson case that made racial segregation legal under the separate but equal doctrine. Norman J. Green, the then president of the school board, gave several reasons for the segregation. According to him, black students were better educated when taught by black teachers, and hence the segregation was the largest step Berwyn had taken in 25 years. This decision was met with great rage and disappointment from the African American families of DE, who had migrated from the South to avoid segregation, but now faced the dilemma in what was known to be a liberal and progressive district. A newly built Easttown Elementary School was set to be for only white students. The Berwyn Primary School, a building with deteriorating conditions, became a school for black students only. Even if a student resided closer to the Easttown School, they were prohibited from attending it.
We had a little back porch, and we heard this awful scream, this yell. My mother went running, and my sister and I went running to see what happened. I don't know what I thought had happened. And he said to my mother, "Jessie, read this." So she read it. She didn't say anything. My sister and I are standing there waiting for the bomb to drop, whatever had happened. So she finally gave us the paper, and we read it. And we said, "Okay, all right." And my father said, "It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen."
Primus Crosby, a small business owner and the father of Bessie Crosby Whitney, assumed significant leadership in fighting against the school board. He arranged a meeting with over 200 black families to brainstorm their plan of action to curb the racial injustice. The Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church served as a meeting point for the African American families, where they met with experts and took major decisions, like the one of boycotting schools. Families protested and children did not go to school for more than 300 school days until the integration. It is recalled that the church was a magnet for the community. Every time a meeting was called, it would be teeming with people, and not only the African American families but also white people. One of the first donations towards the fight was from a white man who contributed $5. While some say that the migration of African Americans to Pennsylvania fostered prejudice by the white residents, others claim that they supported the black protesters with food and money. As shared by Ed Hayes, a then resident, black and white teenagers would dress up as cowboys and play together after watching a movie in the Berwyn Theater, which was segregated. Bertha Jackman, the historian of Mount Zion Church, explained that it served as a backbone for the protesters during the fight. The support of the church was imperative for their success.
One of the outstanding pieces of history from Mount Zion was the fact, and what got us on the National Register was the fact that it was a meeting place for black families and their supporters to fight back against segregation.
I guess they had meetings like twice a month. And we had people that came all the way from Michigan. People of distinction came and had meetings at Devon Church. And it was really inspirational. It was inspirational to me because I met a lot of black people that were somebody in those days.
After months of brainstorming, the Bryn Mawr branch of National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP, got involved to provide legal advocacy to the protesters. Raymond Pace Alexander was a distinguished lawyer from the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard Law School, who represented the black families against the school board.
Raymond Pace Alexander was a trailblazer. In Philadelphia County in the 30s, 40s, no black attorney was allowed to have an office in Center City. They would be ostracized. I mean, just pure naked racism. He broke that color line.
In the fall of 1932, two mandamuses were issued, one by each township. Harvey Tyre and Elizabeth Temple were the petitioners represented by Raymond Pace Alexander and a white district attorney. They demanded to end segregation in schools and allow all children to attend the school of their choice. A few months later, in the winter of 1932, the Chester County Court of Common Pleas testified the case, leading to rounds of argument until the final decision was taken. While the fight was in process, Mount Zion Church provided education for the students to ensure they don't fall behind. However, not all families chose to participate in this fight.
So, rather than face the music at trying to get in, of waiting 2 years to get into the new elementary school, my dad up and we moved into Willistown Township.
Since absence from school was a punishable offense, parents boycotting schools were put into jail, leaving the families without a breadwinner for days.
The father did go to jail for five days for that. And in fact, all the parents, fathers went to jail.
On the 30th of April 1934, the order of segregating schools was rescinded, and on the following Monday, all children returned back to school, to the same one this time. Students returned, but the trauma was etched in their memory. They were pushed behind academically by 2 years and were bullied by their classmates and ignored by teachers. As explained by historian Penny Washington, desegregation was not the same as integration.
In some cases, some children never did go back. They had lost so much time. Some never went back. Some students were homeschooled. Some parents, if they had the economic resources, sent their children to other places to be educated. But that's a ripping apart of a family, and that's traumatic.
The success of the Berwyn School Fight also paved way to the 1935 Equal Rights Bill that abolished segregation in the whole of Pennsylvania. This bill was written by the lawyers who fought the Berwyn School Fight, Raymond Pace Alexander and his wife Sadie Tanner Moselle Alexander. However, the bill faced significant resistance from the White Crusaders, a white supremacist group from Ellsworth. With a similar rhetoric to that of the Ku Klux Klan, they believed the bill gave African Americans unfair rights and hence protested against it. TE's school fight was the most prominent one in Pennsylvania and hence served as one of the many cornerstones to the Brown v. Board decision. It also enabled the NAACP to realize their importance and expand their coalition building to take on more desegregation fights. In the past 80 years, survivors of the school fight have come forward to share their stories of struggle, trauma, and victory. Time to time, our society has honored them for their courage. To commemorate the Berwyn School Fight, in 2020, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission dedicated a state historic marker to the Mount Zion Church. In 2015, it was also listed on the National Register of Historic Places as one with great significance for the African American community.
We have to understand that the struggle was not an easy one. Struggle today isn't easy, but you can only imagine in 1932 and 33 and 34 what it meant and how difficult it was.
I think it was a catalyst for change, but it wasn't well known. A lot of people have never heard of it. When I found out about it, most people didn't know even what I was talking about. But I would tell you, after that, the small Black legal community in Philadelphia started to become much more active.
The thing about it, it showed the spirit and the wherewithal of the Tribune, the Philadelphia Tribune called them the little people out in Berwyn, who fought for their children, for them to have equal education, just like everybody else.
A hard-fought but little-noticed civil rights movement, the Berwyn School Fight shines as one that achieved victory 2 decades before the movement captured national attention. It significantly progressed Pennsylvania and in its own way changed the course of America's history forever.